Hey everyone, and welcome to today's Explainer. We are going to explore a topic today that honestly feels like it belongs in a spy movie, but it's actually happening all around us right this very second. We're going to be stepping beyond those heavy, imposing private security walls, past the gated entrances, and looking deep into the hidden underground vaults of a highly secretive universe. We are talking about a world where money is no longer counted in the thousands or even the millions, but in absolutely unimaginable astronomical fortunes. It's an entire ecosystem built specifically for a tiny, tiny fraction of humanity, and it's designed to be completely invisible to the rest of us.
Okay, let's dive into this. How do billionaires really live? Like, what do they actively hide from the public eye? Because, we all see the polished Forbes lists, we see the glossy magazine covers, right? But what is the actual day-to-day reality of possessing that level of extreme capital? Today, we are peeling back the layers to discover what the unimaginably wealthy keep hidden in the shadows, and we'll look at why the world's wealthiest individuals are actually striving to become more invisible now than ever before.
Section 1. The Age of Invisible Wealth, from public display to private isolation.
So if you look at today's global landscape, wealth is concentrated in fewer hands than at basically any other point in modern history. And there's been this absolutely fascinating evolution in how we actually define status. Think back to the past. Traditional luxury was all about being seen, wasn't it? It meant golden palaces, massive estates you could see right from the road, and fleets of flashy, brightly colored sports cars. It was all about public display. But today, modern billionaire luxury looks entirely different. They are investing heavily in secrecy, security, and influence. It is a stunning reversal. The modern reality is that the richer a person becomes, the less visible they actually strive to appear to the general public.
And this brilliantly illustrates our core thesis today. For the ultra-rich, privacy has become the ultimate luxury. I mean, think about it. When you have the cash to afford absolutely any physical object on the planet, any car, any piece of art, any piece of land, what becomes the most valuable commodity? Invisibility. The ability to just completely vanish from the public eye and exist solely on your own terms. That has become the ultimate untouchable status symbol of the 21st century.
So, how exactly do they achieve this invisibility? Well, it takes a massive logistical effort, utilizing this whole complex web of hidden assets. We're talking about purchasing entire private islands just to guarantee absolute geographic isolation. We're seeing the construction of elaborate underground bunkers literally straight out of a sci-fi movie. And financially, they retreat from public view by hiding their fortunes through deep, deep layers of secret shell companies and offshore accounts. It's a highly coordinated, incredibly expensive effort to physically and financially retreat from the everyday world that the rest of us live in.
Moving on to Section 2. Inside private billionaire kingdoms, behind the gates of luxury.
Okay, so we really need to completely rewire how we think about real estate when we're discussing this level of wealth. The homes of the super rich, they are not just ordinary or even extraordinary houses. They basically operate as isolated, self-sustaining private kingdoms. To kind of anchor this abstract concept into hard reality for a second, hundreds of millions of dollars. That is the baseline cost of entry for these luxury properties in elite global cities like Dubai, London, and Los Angeles. We are definitely not talking about a $5 million mansion in the suburbs here. We are talking about singular, standalone properties that cost more than the GDP of some small island nations. The sheer scale of the financial investment required just to create a private living space is absolutely staggering.
But what exactly does hundreds of millions of dollars buy you? Well, indoor cinemas and full-blown artificial beaches built directly into the property, for starters. You get massive underground garages to house the car collections safely away from prying eyes, helicopter pads, because, honestly, who wants to sit in city traffic, and even full-scale personal museums just to house their private art collections. The whole goal is to totally overwhelm the senses with excess, basically creating this perfectly manicured golden cage, where the billionaire literally never has to leave their property to experience the absolute finest things the world has to offer.
But here's the wild irony of all of this. Despite building these incredibly lavish, self-contained kingdoms, many billionaires live a surprisingly transient life. Their entire existence becomes this continuous, seamless loop, moving from ultra-luxury urban penthouses directly onto massive private yachts, and then jetted off to secluded private resorts across the world. They're in a state of constant global motion. They're always kept safely within a bubble of ultimate luxury, but they're rarely putting down permanent, visible roots in any one actual community.
Let's move to Section 3 and see how this builds. The business of exclusivity, buying status.
So when everyone in your peer group is a billionaire, Simply buying a luxury product isn't enough to stand out anymore. Luxury has fundamentally evolved. It's no longer a business focused just on selling expensive stuff. It is completely transformed into a multi-billion-dollar global industry focused almost entirely on selling access. Welcome to the exclusivity economy. What are the elite actually buying to separate themselves? Well, private members clubs where literally no amount of money can buy a membership without the exact right connections. It's ultra-secret, invitation-only events. It's rare watches and limited edition hypercars where the manufacturer literally dictates who is allowed to purchase them. In this upper stratosphere, the super rich do not simply buy objects. They are buying status, and they're buying the sheer privilege of being totally separated from the general public.
And we, the public, actually play a really fascinating role in this dynamic. Social media has completely transformed wealth into pure entertainment. Millions of people around the world scroll through their phones every single day, actively watching these billionaire lifestyles unfold online. We consume their yacht tours and their hypercar deliveries as daily content, dreaming of a life that, frankly, may never be possible for the vast majority of humanity. It's this incredibly strange paradox, right? The ultra-rich are trying so hard to hide their true wealth, while this massive parallel industry broadcasts a highly curated version of it just for our entertainment.
Which brings us to Section 4, the paranoia of privilege. Fear, security, and secrets.
Now, what's really interesting about this slide is the reality check it provides. To an outsider, this transient life of penthouses and private islands probably looks like absolute paradise. But behind all that luxury lies a much darker, much more stressful reality defined by constant pressure and profound isolation. The sheer logistical burden of this lifestyle is staggering. Consider the literal price of privacy. Many of these individuals cannot even go out to dinner without armed security teams. They travel constantly, sure, but they do it using fake names in hotels and fake names on private flights just to avoid being tracked. They use encrypted phones to prevent corporate espionage or personal leaks. They actively avoid public appearances. The paranoia of privilege means living a life where everyone is viewed as a potential threat, and trust becomes the absolute rarest commodity of all.
All right, Section 5, the societal cost of wealth, the broad ripple effect. We cannot look at this secretive universe in a vacuum because it has massive macroeconomic implications for the rest of the globe. You've got millions of everyday people struggling with the rapidly rising cost of living, while straight across town, someone might drop an absolute fortune on a single watch or a painting. So the crucial point is understanding the ongoing global debate around this intense concentration of capital. We generally see two distinct perspectives here. On one side, critics firmly argue that this level of extreme wealth creates enormous, destabilizing social divisions and drastically exacerbates inequality. On the exact opposite side, supporters maintain that billionaires are totally essential to the global ecosystem, arguing that they are the primary drivers of massive innovation, new technology, and overall economic growth. Both sides present heavy arguments regarding the utility and consequence of extreme capital.
But regardless of where you stand on that debate, it naturally leads us to a much broader, highly critical question. What actually happens when money buys power, influence, and control? When private individuals command resources that straight up rival governments, their decisions, which are usually made in private way behind closed doors and heavy security gates, can shape economies, influence public policy, and totally alter the direction of society, all without a single public vote ever being cast. Which leaves us with one final, deeply provocative thought to close out our explainer today. How much wealth is too much? I really want you to think about that as you go about your day-to-day. We've peeled back the layers on a hidden world of invisible assets, private kingdoms, and the incredibly heavy price of ultimate privacy. It's a fascinating, complex reality playing out right above our heads. Thank you so much for joining me to unpack it all. Keep asking those big questions, and I'll see you in the next explainer.